Hey YouTubers, so welcome to the channel and time for another BMW service. This one pretty straightforward, so I'll work through it pretty quick. So we're just going to be doing the oil, the filter and the air filter, and we'll see if we can get through that quite quick. So first of all, got the car jacked up. There is a central jacking point in the middle of the car that I try and use with my with my trolley jack, and before I do that I have to put the car up on blocks because this car is so low. So just up on the blocks first, then using the trolley jack to lift it a little bit higher, put a second block under the wheels, get it up, get the axle stands under, and it's safe. And now we're going to be taking off a few bits and pieces just to get into the things. So the first thing we're going to take off is the air induction hood here. So that's these two Torx screws. So I'll just shout out the Torx value of those. They are, I can't see, so we'll come back to that. And once we've got that off, then we'll get that off the air cleaner. I'll show you how we get the air cleaner out, and then we'll get the oil filter out, and then we'll get the oil draining at the bottom. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, to get your air cleaner out, it's this 10mm bolt and this 10mm bolt, and then you have to wiggle it under, this 6mm on the Jubilee clip, and this 6mm as well. Just get the Jubilee clip undone, and then you have to wiggle it off the top of this knob and under this radiator hose, and it's really difficult, but you can just about get it. Really important you get it back on top of that, and that goes on the base. So if we just look at the base, you can see there's a corresponding circle there. You undo these 5 Torx bolts, they're all T20, and that takes this cover off, and that then allows you to access the air cleaner. I've got the new one here, just show you the old one. It wasn't too dirty, but it is a little grayer. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Only 12 months old or so. So we're changing that anyway today. And the way that works, that just clips over that hole there and clips down onto this clip, just like that. And you can't put the cover on if that's not in far enough. So I'll just squeeze that in a minute. Maybe I can do it one-handed. Nope. I'll clean this up a little bit inside here, get that back together, and then I think I'll leave that off just while I'm changing the oil. And I'm going to give this a little wash after, but we'll get onto the oil. Okay, so the aim is to get these 2 bolts back in position. It's super difficult because of this flange here to get that one under. And what you really need to take care of, I'm not sure if you can see this down here, is you really need to get that rubber buffer there. Hopefully you can see that in the mirror, just up underneath the and into the boss on the air cleaner, and that is very difficult to do first time. And just keep getting your hand down this gap here, and mind you don't break this hose, because on mine this was cracked, and that's why I replaced the radiator. And then you should be able to get the air cleaner. And also if you reach in here, just be careful not to damage this temperature sensor, which is on this end of this connector, which is also super tricky to get it on and off. You have to lift that tab at the same time as pulling that out. Okay, we'll get that back together and get onto this oil. Okay, so onto the filter. So this is my filter spanner or cup. So this is a 901-1, which is an 86-87 16 tooth, and that goes on there nicely. So I've just undone that with the 1/2 inch socket, and I've also done the 17mm on the drain plug. So just get that loose and just warm the engine up as well. So the first thing we're going to do is just let this oil drain down into the sump a little bit, and I've already made a mess. Just clean that up. That wasn't the best job, was it? Okay, so we'll get that draining down, and when that's drained down a little bit, we will get the oil drained out from the sump. Now on this car there's no dipstick, so it's imperative we get the refill right, and there is a method for doing that. I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so in this kit you do get a bag with 3 O-rings and a new sump plug washer. So the O-rings go on the filter. I've already swapped these over, so one on the end, one in the middle, one at the top. Just remember to lubricate them above and below. I've just used the old oil there, you can use new oil. And there's the old O-rings I've just taken off. You don't really need to change them, I'm sure they'll be fine, but just in case they split or anything like that, that would cause a problem with the lubrication. And the same with the filter, just letting that drain down before we get rid of that a bit later. Okay, so pretty ready to drain the oil now from the sump, and we can put that new washer on. This is the pick I used. You can just use a small screwdriver. Be very careful not to scratch the plastics when you do take those O-rings out. Okay, let's get the oil draining. Okay, so there's the drain plug. Hope you can see it okay. And already loosened that off. That's ready to go. And of course it's just gone a little stiff. Ow. I'm just going to have to whip up and get the socket for that. Hang on a second. Let's try that again. So just loosening that off, and this is the first time I've tried doing this through this hole. We'll see how we go. What's the chances we get oil everywhere? Anybody want to tell me where the best place to put the bucket is? Let's go with that. Okay, here we go. So, clean or not clean? Let's give it a go. Oh, not too bad. The only problem with that is I can't turn off the camera. Okay, so as I've warmed that up a little bit, you can just see, I'm just going to drop the nut down here on the shelf. You can see that that is nice and runny. So that's the advantage of warming it up to maybe about 50, 60 degrees Celsius. And you can see from the colour of that, well worth changing. Done a few kilometres since last year's oil change, and always cheap insurance changing the oil. Now the one thing we are looking out for is how much oil is going in this bucket, because that's roughly how much we're going to start putting back in, and then we're going to rely on the electronic gauge to tell us when we're good. Okay, let's let that drain down and see how we go. So just while that's draining down, you might have seen my last video when I changed the oil on this, and I put a little magnet on the end of this sump plug, and we can just see on the end of there's a bit of, I think that's the epoxy that I put on there, but looking on the side, sorry for the bad video, no filings at all on the side of there, so I'm pretty happy with that. That does look to me like no metal particles, but we'll give it a good clean and have a look. Okay, so we've got the drain plug back in, and we've put in 3 litres of oil so far, just through the oil filler there. So time to put the oil filter back in, so just clean around this rim just so that that's nice and clean and there's no dirt falling down there. And then just as you screw it back in, make really sure that that O-ring goes in cleanly and securely, and it will be pretty tight, but you should be able to get it in hand tight. Excuse my glove, having paint on it, looks really unprofessional. And then got the wrong cup. Okay, get the right cup and then tighten that down. So I'll just do that in a second. I think I'll go all the way by hand first. There we go. And just get the cup and tighten that down. Okay, so we put in 4 1/4 litres of oil and checked the oil level on the gauge, and that's showing up nicely. And that's definitely closed off, and the cap, and then we just gave the engine a bit of a wash with degreaser. So it is nice and shiny down there now, all around. Put the induction filter back on, or the air inlet, cold air inlet, and screw down the air filter and tighten the Jubilee clips. So everything's good to go, sensors on, and we should be fine. So thanks for watching, and thanks for watching the oil change.